Hi, my name is Yasmin Alamillo, and I'm going to be doing my presentation on Agnes Sampson. So, before I get into who Agnes Sampson was and what she did during her lifetime, I would like to give a brief overview into the type of witch that she was. So, she was a healing witch, and these type of witches specialized in medicine and healing. In most languages, they were considered to share the central theme of providing cures and remedies, and a lot of them were actually known as witch herbalists. So they tended to use herb plants, and mainly because this was, the only type of resources that were available back then, and they used it for sickness, wounds, childbirth, and ceremonies. Specifically focusing on childbirth, because Agnes Sampson was also regarded as a midwife, and she specialized in childbirth, so a lot of her remedies were used for that. And a small quotation from Max Dashu and Witches and Pagans: the stones could be large boulders or rock beds in which women who desired to conceive a child would lie down in. And I feel like this gives a really good perspective into how they use their limited resources for things like rock beds, so that women would lie down in. And I think that's pretty special, and that's amazing. Some background history into the time, that Agnes Sampson lived in is between the 16th and 17th century. And during that time, King James was ruling Scotland, which is, where it took place, actually. And he later became the King of England and Ireland. So this guy was so scared of witches that he wrote a dissertation named Demonology, and I know it looks weird there, but that's how they spelled back then. And this piece of writing was for the persecution of witches, and actually led to their, trials, the witch hunting trials. And some more information, for the history was that, the devil was seen as being the witch's god, and that even healers, were considered witches, of course, and they were seen as devil worshippers. And this is mainly because many believed that they extracted power from the devil himself. So we get to who Agnes Sampson was, and she was a healer, diviner, and midwife. And one of the things that, she did was she prescribed eggs and vinegar and iris for sickness. Again, referencing back to, how they had limited resources, and, prescribing eggs and vinegar is not something you would see being done nowadays. And I feel like that's pretty special that they even thought of something like that, and that they used it, for women. Again, healing witches, they were actually perceived as being the doctor in their time, because they actually knew what they were doing. And she also helped a woman by the name of Euphemia McLean by actually helping her giving birth to her child, again, because she was a midwife. But unfortunately, she was caught and tried on January 27th of 1591, and she was accused of bewitching people to have a misconception of King James. And, being King James, he wants to have a picture-perfect view from everyone. And so for a witch, something that he despises, to go out and, say this is something that you would probably try to avoid. And she was actually tortured for information, and ended up giving names from, I believe, 200 witches, which is, a lot. And she actually confessed to using magic to make storms, wax images, and poisons. A little detail on how she made storms is, I believe she actually tried to kill the queen and king while they were traveling in the ocean on a ship, and she conjured up a storm so that the storm would kill them. So she confessed to that, and she actually later told King James that the devil recognized him as being the most hated man on earth, which is really something to say, as, people really despise the devil. And, as you can see, she didn't live for long. She died the day after, on January 28th, 1591. so she had a really rough, life, as many others did that were persecuted. And that's my works cited.